where you find out inside news from the front lines of the revolution. Here is where we gather every single Monday to be together, to plan our work, to support each other, and to strategize. So please tell us where you are calling in from, your name and your location in the chat. Tonight, we have a great call. We will be hearing from Illinois Congressman Chuy Garcia, who will give us an update from Capitol Hill and talk about our progressive priorities. We will also have Arizona State Senator Martin Quezada. He's calling in from what we consider right now the center of our organizing universe, Arizona. We will hear about local efforts to get Sinema agree with us on ending the filibuster and current voter suppression laws in the state. We have Jenny Craig with us here today. She is our new state coordinator with Our Revolution West Virginia, and she let us know about some of the direct actions she organized recently. Exciting work. We also have our very own Mico Lucide from Our Revolution Atlantic County, New Jersey. I'm so excited to hear him on the call. I am based in New Jersey. He is an Our Revolution endorsed candidate for Atlantic County Clerk, and he will share with us a ballot design that you have never seen. And he'll discuss our efforts to defend democracy in this very blue state, because voter suppression doesn't always just happen in red states. We will also have Jalen McKee-Rodriguez, a candidate for San Antonio, Texas City Council, who will update us on the progressive campaign he is running for that state. We will also have an exciting sticker promotion. We are back with another sticker. This time we will let you know about how we are really feeling about the filibuster. For our members only, F Oster sticker. This was inspired by Arizona Senator Kristen Sinema, who famously told progressives to F off, and we are turning it right back around into this amazing sticker that can be yours if you sign up to become a movement builder. The link is going to be in the chat for you. All right, let's see who is joining us. We have Susan Goodman. Hi, everyone. I'm calling in, Susan says, from Coral Spring, Florida. Larry is calling in from Burlington, Vermont. Hi, Larry. We have Nate from Seattle. Who else is joining? Hi, we have Mike from Indiana. We have... who else is joining? Let's see. Who else is here? All in LA is calling in. Jonathan from Maryland. Who else? As I said, I'm Anna Marta. I am from New Jersey, and it's great to see Donald Green calling in from Pennington, New Jersey. Marianne from Lincoln, Vermont. Chime is from Bloomington. Tracy George from Augusta, Georgia. Leona from rural Kempner, Texas. Hi, Leona. Montpelier, Vermont. Deb is checking in from there. Ken from Michigan. Hi, Ken. Barry from Toledo, Ohio. We have Joel Lawrence from Ann Arbor. Such a great crew from everywhere in the country. As I said, this is the place to be on Monday nights. It is my pleasure to be with this amazing team of organizers and volunteers from all across the country. Bob is here from Georgia. Marissa is saying, get your sticker. The link is in the chat. Get it while it's out there. It's hot right now. F the filibuster. Chrissy is here from Our Revolution, Maryland. Hi, Chrissy. Sarah is saying, hola from rainy Colorado. Maggie is here from LA. Hi, Maggie. Who else is joining? So great to hear all these places announced. It is amazing that we have such a powerful national network of progressive grassroots state and local chapters. This is what we do. Lucero is here. Hi, Lucero. Dorothy is here. Great to be here as well, Dorothy. Nice to see you. Who else is joining? We have a great call. As I mentioned, we have Chuy Garcia here. He is going to give us an update from Capitol Hill. We have local organizers such as Jenny Craig, who just joined our team, and she is going to give us a hot update from West Virginia with some direct actions she just organized there. We have Mico Lucide, who is going to talk to us about a very, very strange thing happening to New Jersey's democracy. We have local candidates from Texas joining us with their campaign updates. And this is the official beginning of our call. I'll be kicking it over to our co-hosts, Aaron Chappell and Marissa Mormile.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Aaron Chappell, and this is my first time with you co-hosting a Monday night organizing call for Our Revolution. I'm very excited to be here. Over to my co-host.
Sorry. And I'm Marissa. Hi, everyone. So I'm going to kick it off by going over our 5-point plan to win. Bernie started our revolution to be a transformative force in American political life, and our revolution is carrying out our 5-point plan to win by 1, mobilizing our national network of grassroots groups to urge senators to support critical legislation and eliminate the filibuster and to get it passed. 2, hold our elected officials accountable to voters who want them to move our country forward by enacting voting rights, labor reform, and a living wage, climate solutions, and pressing and popular policies. 3, electing progressive champions who believe in the democracy that works for the people and not for the powerful. 4, fighting for policies like For the People Act, the PRO Act, the End Polluter Welfare Act, and other progressive priorities. And 5, pushing the Democratic Party to become a party that represents working people and not just the wealthy few.
So our revolution just surveyed thousands of our members on their priorities for Congress, and the results are very clear. The number one issue that progressives want Congress to act on immediately is to protect voting rights. And we've responded. Last Monday, our national call was a Defending Democracy town hall that featured 2 U.S. senators, Minnesota's Amy Klobuchar and Oregon's Jeff Merkley, along with issue leaders from across the spectrum in a discussion on voting rights and other policies our nation needs, like labor reform, racial justice, climate solutions, and voter protections, and how to move forward on those policies.
And Senator Klobuchar spoke on the importance of passing the For the People Act so that we can protect the right to vote and safeguard the integrity of our electoral system. Right now, there are over 360 voter suppression bills making their way through state legislatures across the country. 6 states have already enacted these bills into law, including Arizona, which we'll talk about later in the call with State Senator Martin Quezada. And the For the People Act would counter the GOP attack on voting rights, but only if we eliminate the filibuster. And after our call, Senator Klobuchar took action. The Rules Committee she chairs deadlocked in a 9-9 party line vote on whether to send the version of the House-passed For the People Act to the Senate floor, which means Schumer can bring it to the Senate floor for a vote. Democrats can advance the bill with a majority in the evenly split chamber, which would require a tie-breaking vote from Vice President Kamala Harris. Senator Majority Leader Chuck Schumer has insisted that he will bring the plan to the floor, but for us to have a chance, we need to change the Senate rules and specifically the filibuster.
Senator Merkley spoke about the importance of ending the filibuster, not just to get the For the People Act passed, but to have a chance to get all the other bills the House has sent over to the Senate, through the Senate and to Joe Biden's desk. Labor reform, gun safety, the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act, immigration reform, and other priorities. As Merkley said in our Democracy Town Hall, the stakes couldn't be higher. We're circulating a petition to end the filibuster and break the logjam in the Senate. The link will be shared in the chat. It's ourrev.us/filibuster. Our revolution and our allies are trying to collect 1 million signatures to send a message to the Senate.
And as the nation begins to slowly rebound from the throes of the pandemic, which showed that everyone that it's a bad idea to tie our healthcare to employment, we are continuing to push for Medicare for all on every level. We're closer than ever to getting statewide single payer passed in New York, with supermajorities in both the Assembly and the Senate. Last week, we held a call dedicated to the New York Health Act, getting the New York Health Act passed with the New York Assembly member and single payer champion, Anna Kels.
And on the local level, our members continue to pass Medicare for All resolutions in cities, counties, and towns across the country. In New Jersey, our members in Mercer County led an effort to get the Princeton City Council to pass a resolution declaring its support for Medicare for All, making Princeton the 8th resolution our members have helped pass in that state and keeping the pressure on their congressional delegation to co-sponsor the Medicare for All Act in Congress.
And our revolution joined 140 other progressive groups in sending a letter to the White House calling on the Biden administration to uphold international law and prevent the Israeli government forced displacement of thousands of Palestinians, which amounts to war crimes. And today it was revealed that the Biden administration is planning to authorize hundreds of millions in smart weapon sales to Israel. Stay tuned for more on this issue from OR.
Our first speaker tonight is Illinois Congressman Jesus Chuy Garcia, who represents Chicago's 4th Congressional District. For those who follow Illinois politics, or many of you on this call, you know that Representative Garcia has been a progressive hero for decades. Representative Garcia sits on the Financial Services Committee, which is taking on big tech, big banks, and predatory lending, as well as the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee, which deals with public transit, pipelines, and other important issues. Representative Garcia, welcome. Can you give us an update from Congress about progressive priorities?
Good evening, and thank you, Aaron and Marissa, for the generous introduction. And thank you to members of our revolution, of course. Together, we organized and kicked Donald Trump out of the White House. We organized and took back the Senate in Georgia. We organized to keep the majority in the House. And now we need to organize to end disinvestment in communities of color, make sure that we've got Medicare for all, end student indebtedness, and of course, get a $15 minimum wage. It's time that we organize to make transformative change in our country. And it's going to take grassroots army like our revolution to bring that change to reality. That's why tonight I'm having dinner with Senator Sanders and other members of the Progressive Caucus like Pramila Jayapal and others in the fight to talk about next steps, where we need to organize and apply pressure to make sure that working people win and get the policy victories we so desperately need. Some of the things that we're talking about include, of course, making bold investment in infrastructure and in the American Jobs Act, a new deal, the size of investment in human infrastructure in the American Families Plan, ending mass incarceration of racial inequities in policing by passing the George Floyd Justice in Policing Act. As progressives, we cannot back down on the policies that we know our people need and deserve, like basic human rights to housing and good education and affordable healthcare. And let me add to that, voting rights. If we're to have a democracy in the coming years, we need to pass a new voting rights law that will protect against all of the voter suppression bills that are being passed by Republican legislatures all over the country. With a united government, now is the time to negotiate towards a progressive, sustainable future, inclusive future, and not a compromise with Republicans. Now is the time to end the filibuster that we need to get America on the right track. I stand in solidarity with all of you doing the hard work on the ground and deep in our communities. And of course, I commend all the work our revolution members continue to do all around the country. Thank you for having me tonight.
Thank you, Representative Garcia. On Friday, you introduced the Connecting Youth to Jobs Act. Can you tell us a little bit about that bill?
Absolutely. This bill is very, very critical in creating opportunities for young people, especially between the ages of 14 and 24. Look, one of the biggest problems that I've seen in the conversations about criminal justice reform and reinvestment in our communities is our youth. We can address qualified immunity. We can address pursuit foot policies. We can address minimum sentencing, etc. That said, we need to also be thinking about the whole pipeline of opportunity. And for me, I immediately think about youth and job programs, the kind of programs that gave me the skills and the future as a young man when I got a summer job, when I worked through the Comprehensive Employment Act and became a paralegal. Life transforming experiences. My bill not only creates a $10 billion grant program to help local advocacy organizations provide critical wraparound services for youth, including childcare, transportation, and all the other factors that hinder young folks from getting and keeping a good job. It also makes some of these critical services for entitlements, guarantees for young people. This would be a tremendous program that could be implemented coast to coast in cities, especially where young people have been deprived of the opportunities to have good jobs and to continue their education and have success in their lives.
Now, Representative, we know you and your progressive colleagues in the House can get some good bills like this passed. How are we going to get anything through the Senate and to the desk of the president?
Well, that's the conversation that we are in the middle of. We're talking with Senator Bernie Sanders. We remain optimistic that because our numbers have grown significantly in the House, and by that I mean progressives, who many of us are allied with our revolution. We supported Bernie in 2016 and 2020, and we feel that we have additional leverage. It's very clear that our progressive ideals and the things that we have fought for many years now have taken root, that they're supported by young people who came out and helped deliver Georgia, which delivered the Senate, and that, of course, enabled us to keep a majority, albeit a tight majority, in the House of Representatives. We remain committed to passing the boldest legislation possible, whether it's physical infrastructure or human infrastructure. It has to be transformative. If we want to get folks out to vote, if we want to bring independence, many Republican voters agree with the types of measures that they saw and the benefits in the American Rescue Plan. We must continue to be bold to get out of the pandemic, to create economic justice opportunities, to stimulate the economy. This is the time to do it. The White House knows that we were very, very important in delivering these majorities. We cannot waste our leverage and what we've earned through grassroots organizing all over the country, like our revolution has done.
Thank you, Congressman. And I've got one more question for you. You were at a march in support of Palestine over the weekend. Can you tell us about why this issue is so important?
This is a very important issue. 25,000 people marched in Chicago yesterday. The escalation of Israeli aggression in the region, and especially in Gaza, must be called out and must come to an end. The death and destruction must end. What we're seeing is further evidence of the desperate need to urge a ceasefire and return to meaningful steps toward a solution that is just for both Palestinians and Israelis. Rockets and bombs continue to fall from the sky. Over 55 children have been killed. Press towers have been destroyed. Clinics for Doctors Without Borders have been destroyed. The U.S. must do more to urge a ceasefire, and we must weigh in on the continued settlement by Israeli forces in Palestinian territory. It continues to destabilize the region. It continues the injustice, especially against Palestinians. And that's why we continue to speak in Congress and urge stronger measures by this administration, and of course, continue to advance fair and just foreign policy measures.
Congressman Garcia, thank you so much for your leadership on these issues. It's a real pleasure having you here for our Monday night organizing call. We hope to see you again soon.
Thank you and all of our allies of our revolution.
And I want to welcome up, thank you so much, Congressman, welcome our next speaker, Arizona State Senator and Minority Whip Martin Quezada, who represents District 29 in Glendale, an inner suburb of Phoenix. And in 2020, he served as the co-chair of the Arizona DNC delegation and was endorsed by Bernie and Our Revolution in his re-election campaign. Arizona is the sixth state to pass voter suppression laws. Welcome, Senator Quezada. Tell us a little bit about what's the latest stuff in the legislature.
Yes, thank you. Good evening, everybody. And thank you to Our Revolution for including me in tonight's call, and just really for all the great work that you do to help us fight for a progressive future. Again, really quickly, my name is Martin Quezada. I represent the people of Maryville and Glendale in Arizona's Legislative District 29 as their state senator. And let me tell you, Arizona has always been ground zero for voter suppression efforts. And we are living up to that reputation now. We've always had a long history of efforts to block or diminish Latino, Black, and Native Americans' ability to participate in our political process. And they've used strategies that are reminiscent of what happened in the Deep South. That has always been the case here in Arizona. We've had everything from strict literacy tests for voter registration, and those were in place for more than 60 years. We've had voter ID laws, we've had manipulation of polling places, and today we have early voting list purges and more voter ID requirements that they're trying to get passed. So this long history and documented record of suppressing minority voters in Arizona is why we were one of only 11 states that required Section 5 Voting Rights Act preclearance before that was struck down by the Supreme Court in the Shelby County case. And for the last several years, I can tell you that the GOP here in Arizona has been laying the groundwork to continue suppressing the vote of people of color at a disproportionate rate, but really suppress the vote of all voters well into the future. They want to do this. They're laying the groundwork for that. As a state legislator, I've watched their proposals grow more and more aggressive every single year, especially as the state has trended more and more purple. We're a battleground state now. We elected Biden over Trump. We elected 2 Democratic U.S. senators for the first time since the early 50s. We've elected Democratic statewide officers, and we've narrowed the margins in the state legislature. All of that growth for Democrats was fueled by progressive voters with progressive values, especially from our Black and our brown communities. So they know that. And so part of their effort to suppress that vote has been a strategy to delegitimize the people's trust in our electoral system. And with Donald Trump, they've been working on this strategy for the past several years as well. And here in Arizona, that effort culminated after Trump lost in Arizona, and all of those seeds that they had planted about a stolen election were then used to cast doubt over the legitimacy of our 2020 election. The Arizona State Senate, we issued subpoenas to the Maricopa County Board of Supervisors and all of our elections officials. We demanded that they surrender all of their elections data and equipment. And I say we, I mean the GOP in the Senate. And after a long legal battle and a very contentious contempt vote that almost resulted in the Senate sending our sergeant at arms out to arrest the members of the Board of Supervisors, the court ordered the county to surrender all of that data and equipment so they could conduct an audit. And what did Arizona do? We turned all of that data, all of that sensitive voter and election data over directly to Jovan Pulitzer and a completely biased, unqualified, and frankly, a fake auditing firm that calls themselves the Cyber Ninjas, so that they could conduct an audit, a quote unquote audit of our election system. So as you can predict, it's really been nothing more than a complete clown show ever since. They've tried to lock the media out, so there's no oversight. They've tried to lock our Secretary of State out. They've tried to, they've allowed knowingly biased volunteers to come in and audit, to be volunteer auditors, like our disgraced former state representative, Anthony Kern. This guy's a former Brady List law enforcement officer whose name was on the 2020 ballot as a Trump elector. And he gained notoriety earlier this year for tweeting out his participation in the January 6th attack on our nation's capital. This guy is one of our volunteer auditors in the Arizona audit. So anyway, that audit is still going on right now. They were forced to pause this week because of the Coliseum was needed for high school graduations, and they left all of our ballots in the Coliseum with all of those high school seniors. I guess we're just trusting they're not going to mess with them at all. And our county officials are starting to push back. Today, they had a long press conference saying that that this audit was a joke, and Arizona's become a national laughingstock because of this on late night TV. And to be serious, their goal is to bring legitimacy to their illegitimate claim that there was voter fraud in Arizona, and their secondary goal is to justify the voter suppression measures that they are pushing through the legislature right now. And one of those is Senate Bill 1485. We just passed that a couple of days ago. It would purge over 100,000 voters from our permanent early voter list. And it actually, we have a permanent early voter list. We had one until this bill was passed. They actually deleted the word permanent from statute, so it's no longer even a permanent early voter list anymore. And it purged hundreds of thousands of voters off of that. We've got another one that would require even more voter ID to be mailed back with those early ballots for those voters that are still on the early voter list. They would have to mail back ID in order for those ballots to be counted. This is the type of voter suppression measures that we're dealing with in Arizona right now. Senate Bill 1485, the voter permanent early voter list purge bill, that was signed by our governor within 45 minutes of us passing it out of the Senate. So this is obviously a major part of their agenda. And so we're at a point now where that bill is signed into law now. And I've joined many progressive organizations in Arizona. We had a press conference earlier or just last week to call out our U.S. Senators, Kelly and Sinema, our Democratic U.S. Senators, Kelly and Sinema, to tell them that they need to have our backs. They need to pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. They need to pass S1 and get that signed into law because we need their help because Arizona is not taking care of voters. So we need our members of Congress and we need our U.S. Senate to have our backs and to protect voters. And so we're going to pressure them to keep doing that. And in fact, we have another rally on Thursday. A lot of progressive organizations in Arizona, again, are going to hold Senator Sinema's feet to the fire and ask her to eliminate the filibuster and pass this progressive legislation because we desperately need it. And that's what's going on in Arizona.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Senator Quezada. We are looking forward to participating in those rallies in a few days and in all of your amazing work and hopefully, getting some improving the situation you guys are dealing with the voter, with the frauded and voter situation. So thank you again for joining us. And I'm going to move on to the next thing. Our Revolution and PDA are joining up with Progressive Party officials on urging the Arizona Democratic Party to hold Senator Sinema and Senator Kelly accountable to the voters that elected them and to the Democratic policy priorities. And so we're pressing the ADP to pass 3 resolutions at their May 22nd meeting, calling on both senators to 1, end the filibuster, 2, co-sponsor and pass the PRO Act, and 3, co-sponsor and vote yes on For the People Act and the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. And on May 20th, Our Revolution PDA Arizona will be co-sponsoring a statewide rally to call on Arizona Senators Sinema and Kelly to end the filibuster, and there'll be rallies in Phoenix, Tucson, and Flagstaff. The links are in the chat. And I'm going to kick it to you, Aaron.
Go Arizona. But no matter where you are, you can let everybody know how you feel about the filibuster with our new sticker here on this slide, inspired by the words of Senator Sinema herself. It can be yours if you sign up to become a movement builder today. We'll send you this sticker and a personalized membership card. You can order your sticker at the link that's being dropped in the chat right now, or just go to ourrev.us/sticker. Another progressive policy we're fighting for is the PRO Act, protecting the right to organize, the most significant workers' rights legislation in decades. And last week, Our Revolution West Virginia organized a Pass the PRO Act rally in Wheeling, West Virginia, with union members from across the Ohio Valley. Our next speaker here to tell us about that is organizer Ginny Craig, who led the rally. Ginny's also a middle school teacher and president of the Ohio County Education Association. Welcome, Ginny.
Thank you for having me. I just want to say first, before I introduce myself quickly, how much of an honor it is to be part of Our Revolution and to be an organizer in West Virginia. So I'm a 3rd-generation teacher in West Virginia. I teach special education in Wheeling, which is in the northern part of the state. And I never truly learned the power of organizing until Bernie's movement into 2016 and truly leading into 2018, helping to lead and organize a statewide teacher strike here in West Virginia, where we pushed back against low wages and rising healthcare costs. We were hemorrhaging teachers every year, teachers who loved their students, who wanted to be in their classrooms, but just couldn't afford to live and to work in West Virginia. And so through the power of organizing and sharing stories and messaging and talking to our coworkers, I recognize that the real people power lies within that. And we had a very successful strike. And I ran for president of my local that spring, and I've been the president in Ohio County through WVEA for the past 3 years. But then in 2019, we formed a caucus within our union, within the 3 unions, education unions, called West Virginia United, so that we can push our unions to be more progressive and to take on more progressive causes for our students, social justice causes, lack of healthcare and poverty that our students face, and lack of access to mental health care. Then again, in 2019, we pushed for the unions and we pushed to organize against the privatization movement that is unfortunately infiltrating West Virginia right now. We had a successful 2-day strike to fight back against a charter school bill that unfortunately that summer in a special session was passed. I'm really excited to be part of our revolution because all of the work that we are doing simply isn't enough. People in our state are leaving at alarming rates. The state that I grew up in, the state that I love, the state that I choose to stay here because I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful because of our revolution. I'm hopeful because of grassroots movements like this. We want to pressure Joe Manchin and Shelley Moore Capito to vote for the PRO Act, but not just to promise to vote for the PRO Act or to promise their support to get union supporters and to please the union supporters that voted for them, but also to vote for other pieces of legislation and progressive policy that are going to impact the lives of West Virginians. And we want to push Joe Manchin in particular to vote to end the filibuster, because we have to recognize that all of these key pieces of legislation, even with his backing and support, may never make it off the Senate floor and make it into law. And so last Wednesday, we held a very successful PRO Act rally in Wheeling in my hometown. It was our first West Virginia Wednesday Day of Action. So stay tuned for more of those and more ways to get involved. And we had a great showing of union members and allies. And we held it right in downtown Wheeling in front of the Walter Ruther statue. So Walter Ruther was born here in my hometown of Wheeling, who, of course, is an iconic labor leader who led the UAW to be one of the most progressive labor unions of his time and history. And Ruther not only was an advocate for labor, but he was also a civil rights advocate and fought vehemently against the filibuster. In fact, in a speech in 1957 during the convention of the NAACP, he coined the U.S. Senate, quote, the graveyard of civil rights legislation, and called for the end of the filibuster. And so that's what we hope to do here in West Virginia, to continue to have action-packed Wednesdays, to mobilize our communities. We had great media coverage. We had 2 news stations and a radio show and a newspaper cover it. And it started to generate a lot of interest and a lot of questions and interest in organizing, not just around the PRO Act, but also organizing against the filibuster. And so I'm just so excited and blessed to do this work. And so if you're in West Virginia and you want to know, you want to do more, stay tuned for more opportunities and more actions so that we can push our legislators to vote for progressive pieces of legislation that are going to impact our fellow West Virginians and help our working families in West Virginia that are struggling so hard.
Thank you, Jenny. We've got a lot of great messages of solidarity here in the chat. A couple questions. One from listener Naomi, who says, is there really any chance of convincing Senator Capito to join on to the PRO Act?
Go ahead, sorry. Well, we're certainly going to try. You know, the power of a movement comes in the power of story. And we want to tear down partisan lines, and we want to make sure that West Virginians know and understand what these key pieces of legislation mean to them, whether they're a Democrat or Republican or independent. And we want to share the power of story. We want real working people and families that are struggling to come out and to organize with us. And we want to show both Senator Moore Capito and Senator Manchin that we're committed to a better West Virginia, and that we're committed to that with or without them. And we're going to organize and we're going to fight for the state that we deserve.
And Mike in Orlando just posted, Joe Manchin said again today, there's no way he'd support ending the filibuster. What can you tell us about how we're going to change that?
Well, I think not enough is really being talked about, at least here on the ground level in West Virginia, and we hope to change that. And so we hope to talk to our community. We hope to educate them and to talk about what really ending the filibuster means, and what it means for these important policies that are going to improve the lives of West Virginians if we don't end the filibuster. And so our work now, we have a big job ahead of us. And if you'd like to help, we would love to have you, but we have to try, and we have to spread the message, and we have to talk to West Virginians where they're at and make sure that they know and understand how important eliminating the filibuster is, and making sure that they pressure our elected officials, in particular Joe Manchin, to vote to end the filibuster.
Thank you so much, Jenny, for joining us. And remember that when you become a movement builder, your support helps us bring on organizers like Jenny in places in West Virginia and the places where we need to be doing the work. And over to you, Marissa.
Thanks, Aaron. And just before I introduce our next guest, I just want to remind folks that are joining us by phone, if you have any questions, you can press *3, and there'll be an operator who can take down your question, and we can ask it on air. And so our next guest is Jalen McKee-Rodriguez, a candidate for San Antonio City Council District 2, who is headed for a runoff. Jalen is a high school math teacher who is hoping to unseat an incumbent who just happens to be his former boss. Welcome, Jalen. Tell us a little bit about what's going on down in San Antonio.
Hello, everybody. My name is Jalen McKee-Rodriguez, and I'm a high school math teacher running for City Council in San Antonio, Texas. Of course, I want to start off by saying how grateful I am to have the support of our revolution in San Antonio and to be invited here with you all tonight. Here in San Antonio, we've heard at every election cycle that this is the most progressive city council yet. But when it's time to pass progressive policy, it's crickets. We need working class, regular people representing us at all levels of government. We need people who are going to feel the impacts of the decisions they make on the dais. People who know the stories of the people they are representing. And as a teacher, it is my job to know the stories of our students and our families and our communities. That is how we get the progressive policy and the progressive office holders. If elected, I would be the first openly gay man elected to city council in San Antonio, and the first openly gay Black man elected in all of Texas. And in the general election, I received the most votes in a field of 12. And we've been told along the way that progressive goals aren't popular. We've been told that older voters won't vote for a young gay candidate. We've been told that San Antonio isn't ready for someone like me. But I led the field with 26%, while the runner-up, the incumbent, received 16% of the vote. So I say San Antonio is ready, and the communities that have not been represented are ready. We are progressive, and we deserve progressive representation policy that places people over developers and corporate interests. I had more votes than the Trump-supporting incumbent, but now I am facing that incumbent one more time. I have the experience, as was mentioned, of being a council aide for this incumbent. And for the 6 months I was there, the chief of staff discriminated against and harassed me for being an openly gay man. And the councilwoman was complicit. When I shared what was happening in a formal complaint to her, she retaliated. She moved my office. She took roles away from me and gave them to interns. And she set me up to fail the job I was hired to do. And when I took it to the city did what was convenient. And as soon as I left, they closed the investigation and did nothing to ensure that what happened to me never happens again to anyone else. So for that, we need an expanded non-discrimination ordinance that applies to all businesses in San Antonio, because if what happened to me could happen in City Hall, it could happen to anyone, and no one deserves that. I will fight for this policy. We need to support union and worker rights locally and on a national level, and I will fight for that. We need to reform our public safety system by eliminating the contract provisions that make San Antonio's contract the most crooked police contract in the nation, by demilitarizing our police, by ending our participation in the 1033 program. We also need to end all city contracts with ICE and advocate for the abolition of ICE. We need to pass policies such as the George Floyd Act, and we need a true cite and release ordinance. I will fight for all of that. We need to invest in housing first policy that recognizes the complexities of human identity and the need for mental health and drug counseling and any programs that address houselessness. And I will fight for that. At the end of the day, there are people without houses, but their home is San Antonio and they needed to be treated as such. We cannot arrest away houselessness. And also climate change is one of the, if not the greatest threat facing our community. And we need to invest in green infrastructure, green jobs, multimodal transportation, and we need to shut down the Spruce coal power plant and commit to zero waste and carbon neutrality by 2025. I will fight for all of that. I will fight for all of that, and I will write the policy and circulate it for signatures. So I want to thank our revolution for your support, and I want to ask for your time. If you can commit to phone banking, block walking, text banking, if you could do any of those, poll watching, driving people to polls. If you are in Texas and San Antonio nearby and you can support in these next 3 weeks as we prepare for this runoff, I would greatly appreciate that. And if you can't commit your time, and if you don't live near San Antonio or anywhere in Texas, please consider contributing to our campaign at votejalen.com, VOTEJALEN.com, so that we can put more boots on the ground and we can get more voters at the polls. Thank y'all so much.
Thank you for joining us, Jalen, and good luck with everything. And we are supporting you. So I'm going to. We are also phone banking right now. We're going to be dropping the link in the chat. So if you all would like to help support Jalen and other endorsed candidates in Texas, you can sign up at the link in the chat. And so I'm going to kick it to Aaron to introduce our next guests.
Thanks, Marissa, and thanks. Good luck, Jalen. Our next guest is Mico Lucide. Mico's been a progressive activist in Atlantic County, home of Atlantic City, New Jersey, for most of his adult life. He was the co-lead for Atlantic County for Bernie in both 2016 and 2020, and he's the founder of Atlantic County Our Revolution. Mico believes the core of being a progressive is having a government that's representative of and responsive to the people. And so he's running for county clerk in Atlantic County to increase voter turnout, turn the clerk's office into a central hub for civic resources, and in the undemocratic ballot design that's used to prop up hand-picked establishment candidates and which gives an unfair advantage to candidates favored by the establishment party. New Jersey is the only state that uses a party line ballot format. Welcome, Mico, and tell us more about your fight.
Hello, and thank you so much to all of my fellow revolutionaries across the country tonight. As you heard, my name is Mico Lucide. I am running for county clerk here in Atlantic County, New Jersey. If you'd like to know more about my campaign, my values, and why it's important to have progressive county clerks, check out my website at lucideforclerk.com. But let's just get right into this. One of the roles of a county clerk is to oversee elections, administer elections, and part of that is creating ballots for the elections in their county. Now, New Jersey is sometimes seen as a lovely, bright blue state where progressives and Democrats can be comfortable. But my friends, let me tell you, New Jersey has a very undemocratic secret. Let me tell you about New Jersey's primary ballot. I call it the incomplete spreadsheet. This ballot groups candidates not simply by the office that they're running for, but by the other candidates that they're running with. And why is that a problem? Well, inevitably, candidates end up running against the most popular candidate in the other person's column instead of in a head-to-head in their own race. I'm running for county clerk this year, yet my election may be decided by how popular Phil Murphy is in this primary. And let's take a closer look at this ballot. You see that one column that's kind of almost full from top to bottom? That's literally owned by the establishment. To have the same ballot slogan and appear in that column, that nearly full column, you need your local Democratic or Republican Party chair's permission because they own the ballot slogan. If you want to be grouped with other folks in your own column, you need to know a bunch of archaic rules. You can't bracket with a congressional candidate if you're a municipal candidate, unless there's a Senate candidate or a county. None of it makes sense, and no one would know anything about the rules if you don't have way too much time to research them. And I've spent way too much time researching them. For all intents and purposes, county party chairs decide who wins most primaries in New Jersey. And they aren't exactly aiming for a representative government most of the time. These are people often connected to other party bosses and moneyed interests, not like there's a wealth of diversity in the county leaderships either. And the design of the ballot is confusing to voters. It can be hard to tell who's running for what, and most people just end up voting that single column because it looks like the most complete column, and they don't realize they can vote off the line. This design disenfranchises voters. Believe it or not, this design disenfranchises voters. Last year here in Atlantic County, Senator Cory Booker decided to bracket with the congressional candidate to try to give her a better shot in her race. And as a result, there was a blank space in column A on our ballot. You see it right there in the U.S. Senate spot. That blank space resulted in nearly 20% of voters accidentally skipping the U.S. Senate primary that year. And we had a candidate running with Bernie Sanders in that column too for Senate last year. In a different county, there were 2 candidates for Congress in the same column, in the same county column. That ballot resulted in 33% of voters accidentally voting for 2 candidates and having their votes thrown out. A third of voters in that primary had their vote for Congress thrown out because they accidentally voted for 2 candidates. We cannot sit and do nothing when people's votes are being thrown away based on nothing more than a bad ballot design. That's part of why I got into this race for county clerk. I want to give every candidate a fair shot, equal access to the eyes of the voter, a level playing field for candidates outside of the establishment, from progressives who have been fighting the system for decades to locals running for town council for the first time because they just want to serve their community. Friends, democracy is not a game. Voters are not something to be played with by people in positions of power, and we have got to demand true fairness in our elections here in New Jersey and across the country. And I know fighting the establishment is an uphill battle, but only all of justice is at the top of that hill, and we have a duty to pave the way for those who have been denied their path. So let's show them. Let's speak up, push back, and let's show them what happens when a movement makes moves.
Wow, Mico, what a terrible system. What can we do if we're not in New Jersey to help with this fight?
Well, there's a couple of things going on. I'm proud to be one of the individuals who's part of a federal lawsuit challenging this ballot system. We are challenging this system. We're fighting for a better ballot. People can donate to those efforts. Better Ballot New Jersey. Also, I'm a candidate for county clerk. I'm trying to do what I can here in Atlantic County to give Atlantic County voters a better ballot. You can phone bank for me. Like I said, you can visit my website at lucideforclerk.com. I know Our Revolution New Jersey has been so graciously doing phone banks for me on Sundays. My campaign is doing them twice a week myself. And if you live here in Atlantic County or live in New Jersey, near Atlantic County, we are doing canvassing as much as we possibly can, usually 3 or 4 or 5 times a week. So get in touch with us, email us, info@lucideforclerk.com. We want people, we need people, volunteers. Donate to the campaign. There's a lot of work to do. We have 3 weeks left. Let's get this done.
Thank you, Mico. You're getting a lot of support in the chat and a lot of folks aghast at this corrupt system. Thanks for coming on to tell us about it.
Thank you.
Marissa.
Thanks, Aaron. And thank you, Mico, for joining us. So we have some upcoming events that are pretty exciting. This week, workers are going on strike to demand 15 in a union. Our Revolution will be gathering at the National Mall in DC on Wednesday to support McDonald's employees and all working families who are struggling to survive and deserve a living wage. You can RSVP for this event if you live in the DC, Maryland, Virginia area to attend it with us.
I'll be joining you there. But first off, tomorrow, Our Revolution's proud to be supporting progressive Philly DA, Larry Krasner, in his fight for re-election. Normally, an incumbent has an easier run the second time around, but the party in Philadelphia has abandoned Larry for his important work for criminal justice reform, which has earned him the opposition of the Fraternal Order of Police there. And so he's found himself in a very tough re-election fight, and we need to really throw in support of the criminal justice reform movement around the country as well. Really important that we get Larry re-elected tomorrow. We phone banked for him over the weekend, and his primary is tomorrow. If you live in Philly, find your polling place at the link in the chat. If you have anybody there, tell them to make sure they get out to vote. Our Revolution organizers are also making calls to our supporters on behalf of our 2021 member drive. You can help us recruit more movement builders by signing up to phone bank with us. As we said, becoming a movement builder helps us support our work and organizers like Jenny Craig in West Virginia. We're phone banking on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, Saturdays, and Sundays. I think that's pretty much almost every day from 6:30 to 8:30 Eastern. You can make your calls from anywhere with a computer. Just RSVP on Mobilize or click the link in the chat to get started. And that link is getting dropped into the chat right now.
And on Thursday, Our Revolution New Jersey is co-hosting a virtual democracy symposium to discuss the importance of diverse representation in the state legislature. You can RSVP in the chat. And on Saturday, Our Revolution Pennsylvania will be holding a state forum on the path for progressives in Pennsylvania. Also, the link will be in the chat.
And on Sunday, Our Revolution Massachusetts will hold a forum to discuss Amazon's rapid expansion and how labor and community interests can join forces to take them on and improve wages and working conditions. That link is also getting dropped in the chat. And we just want to say thanks to everyone for joining us tonight. A special thanks, this, as I said, is my first time co-hosting a Monday night organizer call. A special thanks also to our organizers, to our volunteers, to our donors, and to everyone who signed up to be a sustaining member. We can't do this work without you. Before we sign off, if you can just unmute and let's all do our chant. When we organize, we win. One more time. When we organize, we win. Good night.
Night.
Thank you.